Many years ago, in Caracas, Venezuela, at a performance of Don Quixote, a friend of mine was crying backstage. We were about to go on, and I asked her what was wrong. She said, "I started to do theater because I thought I could run away from myself." I looked at her perplexed, and we both laughed. "It's the exact opposite, isn't it?" I said. "Yep, funny that," she replied, with a knowing smile and refreshed determination. The only way to genuinely dive into a character's life is to choose not to be afraid to find out who you are. I hugged her, and we both carried on. I think back to that moment often. I was charged with a sense of purpose and self-awareness and wonder at the possibilities of expression that could be birthed from choosing to be curious about ourselves and our context. It is a holistic metaphor of where my sense of agency has brought me. Let's unpack that a bit more. In that moment, both my friend and I understood that embracing our art as a way of knowing ourselves was a better growth opportunity than just playing on the surface of it. We became aware of our creative agency, looking at things as they are, understanding the challenge, and walking towards them with a sense of genuine curiosity and confidence gives us back a reflection of ourselves and our journey. It gives things meaning. So, what exactly is this sense of agency, and why is it so important for education and well-being? In a paper titled Agency, Values, and Well-being, a Human Developing Mode, political scientists Christian Welzel and Ronald Engelhardt established an interesting relationship between well-being, evolution, and human agency. A high sense of agency is directly linked to better adaptability. They say, for individuals as well as societies, agency means the power to act purposely to their advantage. In this way, a sense of agency can provide the greatest degree of well-being since it unlocks our capacity for self-actualization and to see more useful opportunities in the environment. In their words, feelings of agency are linked to human well-being through a sequence of adaptive mechanisms that promote human development once existential conditions become permissive. So, agency is not only the acknowledgement that you are the determinant of your actions, but the ability to understand, connect, and ethically work with the elements of your environment to be able to thrive. This inevitably means that your surroundings play a key factor in how you develop your sense of agency, and your sense of agency also determines how well you adapt, coexist, and grow with the conditions that surround you. However, agency becomes more important to you when you start feeling free to execute it. This happens when the conditions of your environment are such that you are not just in survival mode, but thriving mode. To illustrate this, it will be useful to remember Abraham Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs. Although this is not an exact science and there are many variables and questions in this theory, it is useful to understand how we instinctively prioritize our needs to survive. According to Maslow and his work on motivational theory and psychology, human needs can be organized in a pyramid with basic physical needs like food and water at the base and more conceptual needs like self-actualization towards the top. Maslow theorized that we could only move towards addressing the next level's needs once the needs of the lower levels were satisfied. The pyramid is organized from the bottom upwards in the following way. Physiological needs, such as food, air, warmth. Safety need, like security or roof over our heads. Love and belonging needs, like friendship, intimacy, family. Esteem, both self-esteem and esteem and respect from others, and self-actualization. Self-actualization is essentially the realization of our human potential. What does agency have to do with any of that? If we follow Maslow's reasoning, according to Welzel and Engelhardt, then agency provides the highest level of satisfaction because it meets the needs of highest order in the evolution of life, self-actualization. In a nutshell, human agency is what allows us to move through the pyramid. Cultivating a strong sense of agency by creating environments where the different needs can be met will highly benefit any child's holistic well-being and learning journey. Agency is a crucial element for humans to thrive. Understood as our ability to make the best, purposeful, and strategic choices for our survival and thriving, agency has been a key factor in human evolution. We are constantly in a state of becoming, as Maslow would say, and every choice that moves us towards growth is a learning opportunity, not only for us, but for everyone that can observe and emulate. We are geared to learn from each other. So, to thrive as a society, we need to nurture our sense of agency. According to Welzel and Inglehart, the basis of all agency is knowledge. They explain that in order to thrive, societies have to generate and deploy knowledge, and this requires the mobilization of the cognitive potential of the population on as broad a front as possible. The best way to mobilize our cognitive potential in your classroom is by making intellectual freedom, personal autonomy, tolerance, democratic participation, and equality of opportunities the priority. These can be classified as self-expression values. To link it all together, you experience holistic well-being when all your different types of needs are met, and you can move from merely surviving into thriving through your sense of agency, which is nurtured by self-expression values. When you become an agent in shaping your own life, your level of satisfaction will increase, along with your knowledge and understanding of your surroundings, your empathy for your fellow humans, and your personal, societal, and planetary well-being. Of course, the ideal world does not yet exist. Self-expression values are not available or nurtured in everyone. This is why it's so important to claim every available space for creative agency and autonomy. One of the most important ones being our classrooms. Claire Chutter reflects on the importance of fostering a sense of agency in students in the classroom in her paper, The Role of Agency in Learning, in which she identifies how it provides lifelong benefits for education, democracy, and well-being. Chutter defines the key components of agency as the thoughtful indication of personal values and priorities, a strong belief in our abilities, and the capacity to intentionally direct our efforts towards a goal. In other words, self-awareness, self-efficacy, and self-regulation, respectively. In this sense, agency links intention and action, which empowers students to engage in their own learning experience and equips them with an important quality to thrive beyond school. Additionally, Professor John Hattie's research on visual learning identifies self-efficacy and collective teacher self-efficacy as two of the most positively impactful factors in education. You can help students foster these qualities in your classroom by encouraging student-directed learning and problem-based learning. In the next lesson, I'll show you how these techniques are aligned with the process of devised theater in multiple ways. Chutter says that agency is both an enabler of success at school and an outcome of schooling. By providing a learning environment where your students can exercise their agency, you will empower them to develop emotionally, cognitively, and socially. Students become proactive when they understand the importance of their own principles, values, and education. In this awareness, they can create rather than simply respond to learning opportunities. As William Ernest Henley's famous poem, Invictus, says, they become masters of their fate and captains of their soul. Each student's sense of agency is different. And even though each student will lean towards their favorite subjects, when they develop their sense of agency, they're able to motivate themselves in different contexts, as well as advocate for themselves and the issues they care about. The act of learning itself becomes a source of well-being as it contributes to the overall knowledge and growth towards self-actualization. Even with students from complex backgrounds, you can be fundamental in helping them develop their sense of agency. Agency helps shape democratic citizens with a strong sense of justice, as well as individuals mindful in sustaining healthy relationships. They become clear voices and change makers within their communities. We know that agency is directly connected with well-being and growth. So, how can educators encourage student agency and also meet the structured requirements of curriculum and assessments? How can teachers navigate the delicate balance of student freedom? Literacy professor Margaret Vaughan's great article, Making Sense of Student Agency in the Early Grades, defines agency as a student's desire, ability, and power to determine their own course of action. She found from her own experience that leadership and engagement increased as the children were given more space to follow their interests and share them with the class. However, sometimes it is not easy to implement this freedom within the prescribed curriculum and the demands of tests. Vaughan acknowledges that teaching for student agency requires taking risks and adopting an adaptive stance towards instruction. To help identify opportunities for student agency, Vaughan divides student agency into various dimensions: dispositional, motivational, and positional. Dispositional agency is reflected in the willingness to take action in response to problems and opportunities. We may call this proactivity. Motivational agency can be understood through self-efficacy and self-regulation, or in other words, the student's ability to control their feelings and beliefs in order to complete a task and act effectively. This can relate to their internal strategy and executive function. Finally, positional agency means understanding their social, cultural, and historical environment to determine how to best take action within their specific context. So, with these guidelines, teachers can find different ways to trigger students' proactivity through curiosity. Vaughan advises teachers to be alert to students' readiness to assert themselves, guide their own learning, and make their own choices. So, as teachers, we can ask ourselves, what opportunities for freedom are there in any class material or assignment? How is it relevant to students' own cultural context? Can I give more space to explore before intervening? How can I present this in a way that incites students' enthusiasm to figure it out? Overall, it is better for teachers to err on the side of freedom and scale it back from there. Author and student advocate Dominic Smith believes that teachers can rethink their classroom dynamics to encourage students' sense of agency through positive reinforcement. In his talk, Building Student Identity and Agency, he explains how teachers have immense influence over students as they discover their personality and build up their self-esteem. In this sense, strategies like reward charts might be a double-edged sword. While some students get constant positive reinforcement, others might be fortifying a sense that they are intrinsically bad. It is extremely important to separate the notion of having a bad day in school from I'm a bad student. By finding more opportunities for student-led learning and freedom, teachers can connect with students as they understand their different ways of learning. Let students teach you things and teach each other. Embracing their special interests or cultural background will fortify their self-esteem and help them feel the power of their own voice. As children appreciate their differences, they'll feel more empowered to thrive in their own particular ways. Understanding that they're not trapped under a label is the key to embracing their sense of agency. In the next lesson, I'll share how the dynamics of devised theater can help you develop creativity and agency in your classroom. See you next time.